What's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode. So if you guys have been following me on Instagram, then you probably know that I've been having some shoulder issues lately, and I finally booked an appointment with my buddy Dom at San Ramon Valley Physical Therapy. He was the one that helped me recover after my ACL surgery. Eternally grateful for him. He is actually part of my inspiration for wanting to go down this path and get into the medical field and pursue nutrition, but we won't dive into that. So he actually diagnosed my shoulder injury. It turns out, based on some physical examinations, that I have what's called a slap tear. So in this week's video, I'm gonna be walking you guys through some of my rehab and the types of exercises that I'm gonna be doing to rehabilitate my shoulder, get the range of motion that I need, and reduce the amount of pain that I have in my shoulder so that I can go out and start training at 100% again. So without further ado, let's jump into it. All right, so first things first, I thought I'd explain what a slap tear is. Now, the basic anatomy of the shoulder, we have your humerus, your arm bone, and then the bicep tendon that's gonna run over the top of the humerus and attach at the labrum, which is a cartilage joint that helps make the ball and socket joint of your shoulder. Well, that bicep tendon goes under a lot of stress, and when your shoulder isn't rotating or moving properly, you can actually have some tears or some damage to that ligament. So at the point of attachment is where the tear normally occurs, and that's what we've kind of decided is the diagnosis for my shoulder pain. So the actual root of this is not in the shoulder, but it's actually a weakness in my back. And so Dom explained to me that I have overdeveloped lats, but very weak rhomboid major and minor. So the rhomboids actually sit underneath the trapezius muscles, also known as your traps, and attached to the scapula, which you guys might be familiar with as your shoulder blade. And because those muscles are extremely weak, my left shoulder has been compromised and larger muscles have taken over. Therefore, the movement of my left arm is not very good and my range of motion is pretty poor because now I have scar tissue and all this other crap built up in there. So I have clicking and snapping and popping and all that great stuff and lots of pain. So today I'm gonna walk you through some of the exercises that Dom has been so graciously to give me and share with you guys. Hopefully this might help you with some of your shoulder injuries or any problems that you're having. So I'll go through some of the techniques and some of these basic exercises. The first exercise I'm gonna be doing is some myofascial release. So I'm gonna be using these little torture devices to dig into my back and essentially place this on the floor and push into my back right in between my shoulder blade, also known as the scapula, and my spine. And that's to release the muscles in my back. So I'm gonna get on the ground here and walk you guys through this. So you're going to set up your hips like you're gonna do a bridge, place this behind your back, and get it right in between your scapula, your spine, and then you're gonna bridge your hips up into the air to get some leverage. And then you're going to move your arm from back to overhead, to around, to up, and you're basically gonna run your arm through a range of motions, and this is to release the muscles, and it hurts like fucking shit. And this is to release the muscle so that the scapula and your shoulder can track properly. You're gonna do 4 sets, and you're gonna hold for 30 seconds, give yourself a minute break, and then hold for 30 seconds. It's not fun. It's not fun. The second exercise that we're gonna do is an external rotation of the shoulder. So what I've done is I've taken the elastic band, tied a knot, and put it through the top of the door, and I'm gonna fish my hand through the handhold here. I'm gonna pull it out until I get the desired tension on my arm. And then here, it's really important that my elbow doesn't move. So I'm not gonna pull it back, I'm not gonna pull it up, it's not gonna drop down. You wanna focus on working the outside of the shoulder. And in order to do that, I have to make sure that that arm stays exactly where I had it initially. So I'm gonna focus on just rotating and pulling from the outside of the shoulder. And I'm not gonna have any tension in my forearm or my hand. I don't wanna grip this and end up using my forearm, because we're trying to isolate the outside of the shoulder and work some of the back muscles there that's supporting the shoulder in order to get that rotation that we want. So I'm gonna do 10 reps of this, 3 sets, and I'm gonna rest in between. And I'm gonna do this pretty much every day until it's sore enough where I need to take a rest period. So these exercises are meant to burn the outside of the shoulder. So it's supposed to tire you out. And then what's inevitably gonna happen is as you start to get tired, you're gonna compensate and wanna grip this thing. And then your arm's gonna start moving. So it's really important to keep this point fixed. So every time I'm rotating and I'm just working the outside of my shoulder blade. So same thing as last time, but now I'm gonna rotate backwards. So I'm gonna pull the elbow back until I get the tension I want, keep it fixed in the air, and I'm gonna rotate backwards. And once again, it's all about keeping that elbow in that fixed position and just working on the rotation of the shoulder. So pay attention to the elbow positioning and make sure you're not grabbing the band. The next exercise, I've taken the band, I put it in the center of the doorway here, and I'm gonna have a different grip this time. So instead of fishing my hand through, I'm gonna have an undergrip with my thumb pointing out towards the outside of my body. Pull until I get the tension that I want. And now I'm gonna be working on rotating the thumb or rotating the hand and the arm outwards. So instead of lifting back, I'm keeping the elbow pinned and I'm moving the arm outside of my medial line. So I'm bringing it out away from the body. Keeping that thumb pointed out, and you should feel it in the outside of your shoulder. The next workout, I have a different band here. This is a different resistance level. I've tied a knot in the center of the band and I've placed it behind the top of the door. Now I'm gonna go on the ground and we're gonna do W's and Y's. So I basically sit down on the ground here, scoot my feet as close as I need to the door, get my hands positioned, and now I'm gonna be pulling the bands back and forming a W on the ground where my knuckles are basically touching the ground. Now what I want to do here is my lower back is lifting off. So if you guys could see, my lower back has an arch in it. That's because I don't have really good range of motion in my upper thoracic, my upper back. So in order to compensate that, I need to focus on pushing my lower back into the ground. So imagine you have a towel there and you're pushing it into the ground. So I'm gonna activate my lower back and I'm gonna push it into the ground. And without arching my back, I'm gonna form a W. And so you're gonna do 10 repetitions and try and focus on not bringing my back off the ground. Knuckles go down. I can already feel it picking back up. So this is something I have to really work on. This is a new movement for me. So without picking my head off the ground, without compensating, my back is arching. You can see it right there. Same movement for the next exercise, but now we're gonna be doing Y's. So I'm gonna roll back into the same position. I'm gonna focus on keeping my back pressed up against the ground, head fixed, and now I'm gonna bring the bands back and form a Y. So bring them way overhead, and I'm gonna basically point my thumbs back towards the ground here. So I'm gonna pull here and focus on keeping my back pressed up against the ground and form the Y's. And this is gonna be really difficult because once again, I have terrible range of motion in my back. So now we're out in the hallway, and that's because I'm gonna show you how to do wall angels. This is probably my weakest movement and what I struggle with the most because it shows my biggest weakness, which is my mobility in my upper thoracic. So my upper spine here between my shoulder blades. The physical therapist, Dom, basically said my shoulder and my back just doesn't move. So in order to improve that, he wants me to push my abs just like before into the wall. So basically I want to press my abdomen up against the wall here and bring my arms back into that W form without my chest peeling off and having this big arch, you know, in my back, because I can do it right now. I can push my wrists up against the walls here, slide them up, but my back is compromised. So I have to push my back in tighten up my core, and then bring my arms up. And the goal is eventually be able to get my wrist touching the wall. But I don't have that flexibility yet. So then you're gonna do repetitions, going up and back down and back up. And you're gonna go overhead. And these are way harder than they look. Keeping my back pressed up against the wall. All right, so there you have it. Those are the 7 exercises that Dom's given me to rehab my shoulder. I'm gonna be doing this for both my left and right side so that I don't create any muscle imbalances. And I'm really gonna be focusing on getting my range of motion back, that mobility in my shoulders, strengthening the joint itself, and also working on my upper thoracic mobility. So improving my range of motion without compromising and taking all these shortcuts that I have over the years. So I think this is gonna be really beneficial. Hopefully you guys learned something. And this actually brings up a really important point that I wanted to make. A lot of us go into the gym and we train 4, 5, 6 days a week, and we're training heavy, we're working legs, we're working our back days, our chest days, we're hitting all the big muscles, but sometimes we neglect these smaller muscles like the rhomboids. And over time, that type of muscle imbalance or those weaknesses can start to accumulate and actually cause us to have an injury like the slap tear that I suffered from. So in order to prevent those injuries, you really need to be spending time in the gym working on those maybe more boring exercises that are gonna allow you to train longer, be healthy, and not have to run into any of these problems later on in life as we start to age. So if you guys found this video beneficial or helpful, don't forget to leave a like, comment, let me know what your guys' thoughts were. And as always, be healthy, be active, and be yourself. Everyone has something to give this world. You just gotta go out there and find it. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.